All right, this video is for day 3 of the review unit at the end of the year, and it's all about polynomials. Depending on the length of the video, it may get cut into multiple videos, but the multiple choice is definitely much faster to explain than the quadratics was. And so the multiple choice questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and question 12 will cover everything the constructor response requires of you. So let's go ahead and just start with multiple choice 1. The first one, and I may pause several times to get the calculator ready to show you pictures, but the first one tells us that f of -3 equals 0. They're saying if you plug in x value -3, you get y equals 0. So x equals -3 is a 0 of this function. They're also telling you that f of -1 is 0. So they're telling you x equals -1 is a 0 of the function. If you graphed it, and I will pause the video now and graph it, what do I want to type in the original function? If I graph this problem, I will see it crossing the x-axis at -3 and at -1. And confirm I have to do this because the problem already told me that. But here's the connection that you may have forgotten that you need to remind yourself of. If it crosses at x equals -3, if it crosses at x equals -3, then that means x plus 3 was a factor. Kind of think of it this way. X plus 3, if I set that equal to 0, I would subtract 3 and the answer would be -3. If x equals -1 is a 0, then x plus 1 is a factor. So for the multiple choice problem, we know that the answer has to include those, so it can't be A or C because they don't include those two factors. So then multiple choice decision, the question becomes, is the other two factors, or are the other two factors x plus 2 and x minus 2, or are they something else? So let's take a look at that picture again. Does it cross at x equals 2 and -2? That's the question. It doesn't look like it from the picture. It looks like x equals 2 is over here and it's not crossing it, but let's go to the table. We'll know for sure. Does it cross at x equals 2? Y value 30? No. So for multiple choice sake, it doesn't cross at -2 or 2. The answer is D. So you'll need to maybe do something different on the constructor response, which you will. If x plus 3 is a factor of this, you'll have to take x plus 3 and divide it into x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 3x squared minus 13x minus 12 using long division or synthetic. So I will just quickly show you synthetic one time to remind you. If x plus 3 is what you're dividing by, x minus r is what you compare it to, and r is -3. So in the little half box, r value -3 goes there. Then you list out the coefficients, 1, 5, 3, -13, -12, 1, 5, 3, -13, -12, and then you leave a space for addition. And then if you'll remember, you start synthetic division by bringing the 1 down. Then you take -3 times 1, and you get -3. So you put that underneath the 5, and you add 5 plus -3, 2. You keep going over and over again until you run out of numbers. You take the -3, multiply it by 2, -6. Put it under the next number and add, so -3. Take your -3 that's r, multiply it by that -3, and you get +9. So 9 goes under the next number. You add -13 plus 9, and you get -4. Last time, -3, the r value, times -4, so we get 12. 12 goes over here. You add them, you get 0. And that's what you should get if you're dividing by a factor, because if you'll remember, this last number is the remainder. Remainder 0 means that x plus 3 is a factor. And then this is your x to the 0 term. This is your x to the 1 term, x to the 2, and x cubed. So in other words, you get the answer 1x cubed plus 2x squared minus a 3x minus a 4. X plus 3 times the answer I got gives me the original function. So then I could, and I'm not going to, but then I could divide x plus 1 into the answer I got here, x plus 1, using synthetic division, divided into x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x minus 4, and you will get this quadratic, x squared plus x minus 4. But you'll need synthetic or long division in the first constructor response. All right, the next one's going much faster. Number 2. I'll pause the video to get the graph ready. Number 2. All right, the graph is ready, and when we graph number 2, we see it crossing at 1, 2, 3, 4 different spots. It sure looks like -5, -2, +2, +5. And I'll go to the table to confirm that. -2, -5. Let's see, yeah, -5, -2. Oh, it's crossing at 0. I missed one. And it's crossing at 2 and 5. So our answers are x equals -5, -2, 0, 2, and 5, which is x plus 2, x minus 0, which is just x minus 2, and x minus 5. So that's kind of cheating, but you will get the answer. It has those factors, so it's got to be C or D. Notice C doesn't have the x factor, so the answer is D. But what you'll really need for question number 1 is either what we did in question 1 on the constructor response, either what we just did about synthetic and long division, or you'll need to remember how to factor something. So if I look at this problem, it has a 2 and an x in common, and if you take a 2x out of all three things, you get answer A, 2x. Then you're not done, because that loifs. Things that multiply to make 100, that add to make -29, well, that would be -4 and -25. So it loifs to answer B. The x to the 4th minus 29x squared, and you get answer B. But wait a minute, x squared minus 4 is the minus 2, and x squared minus 25 factors to x plus 5x minus 5. So if you use the a squared minus b squared factoring technique, you get x plus 2, x minus 2, x plus 5, x minus 5. So basically, but answer A, B, D is the work to factor this completely. And number 3, we'll just use the quick way on this one. If I'm trying to find completely factored form, and I have 4 terms, the only thing I can try is GCF or factoring using grouping, and unfortunately it won't work with either one. So we're going to have to take the picture and see if we can figure out what the factors should be based on where it crosses the x-axis. So I'll pause the video to get the graph ready. All right, the graph, you see it crossing at, it kind of looks like a fraction, then at 2 and 3 maybe, looks like maybe 2 and 3. Let's look at the table to see for sure. X equals 2 and 3. Yeah, it's crossing at x equals 2 and x equals 3. So knowing it crosses at x equals 2 and 3 means it has a factor of x minus 2 and a factor of x minus 3. So we're looking for, let's see, x minus 2 and x minus 3, x minus 2, x plus, nope, nope, nope. So that's enough to answer this question. But just for the sake of review, if 2x plus 1 is the other factor, 2x plus 1 equals 0 when you subtract 1, divide by 2, -1/2. This third intersection point that we said looked like a decimal or a fraction, second calc 0, send that cursor left of -1/2, send that cursor when it asks for right bound to the right of -1/2. Don't guess, remember, hit enter one more time, and that third 0 is -0.5. So it confirms that answer. Video's getting kind of long. I think stop this video right here, and that's really going to give you enough work to do the first constructor response if you choose to do it. It is a difficult one, but that one, polynomial question 4, you could tackle that question with that video. The next video, I'll focus on the question 5, which is all calculator work. Again, when you're dealing with the calculator, this is a typo. Find the real zeros. There's no way to find imaginary zeros in the calculator, so that word should be real. But we'll deal with that one in the next